worlds colliding with your latest project, Avatar: The Last Airbender, with Michael, who you worked with on Kung Fu, championing you for this role. Is there an added sense of pressure when somebody's recommending you for such an iconic character?
Yes, and also because it's someone that I truly respect. Like Michael's fantastic, and I really don't want to let him down. I don't want to let the fans down. I don't want to let anybody down. And yeah, Kiyoshi's such a beloved character, like you said. It was a lot of pressure, but the team is so good. They're so good. So I mean, it's everybody coming together. It's definitely not just me. It's everyone who brought that together. So thank goodness. Not alone in it, that's for sure.
And not only were you a fan of this franchise, but you did so much research in your preparation to play Avatar Kyoshi. As you brought this beloved character onto the screen, what's something that you wanted to make sure was translated from the novels and the animated series to this live action adaptation? And what's something new that you brought to her?
Yeah, I really wanted to strike a balance. I was hoping of what she would be like as a mentor because that's a new capacity that we're seeing
Mm,
her in as opposed
mhm.
to the original, and also to honor what the fans saw her as and what I saw her as in the novels. And I think in this particular circumstance, there's so many ways that Kyoshi could have interacted with Aang, and a lot of them would have been true because, as we see in the novels, there's so many facets to this character and to this woman. But given the circumstances at the time when Kyoshi Village was under attack, literally as we were talking, tough love was needed. And I feel like that
Mhm.
was very true to who she is, especially as we've seen her in before. And she's a no nonsense, get to business kind of woman. So I really wanted to make sure that that was part of the characterization of her.
Yeah, I got a question about that later on, but you also get to narrate and kick off the series in episode one. How do they reveal that news to you? And how different is that filming experience when it's just your voice as compared to episode two that has that intricate fight sequence?
Oh, it's so different because, well, first the ask came from Michael and Albert, who again, they have been such wonderful, um, yeah, just caretakers of this series. Like they use the original as their Bible, and the original had
Mm,
Katara's voice, but the way that they phrased it, like, well, we still want to keep it female. Kyoshi's been around for 230 years. She would be somebody who would know what was going on, and I think the narration suits her well. So that's why they asked me to jump in on that. And it's very different because when you're acting or you're doing action sequences, you're in the embodiment of the thing, you're working off somebody else. You're kind of
mm.
in you're in this different environment that lends to a more of a reactive response. Where this we just did tons of iterations of the voiceover, of trying different things, and it's the technicians of the sound technicians that really brought it all together. So kudos to them. But it was fun. It was a different experience just being in the sound booth and trying out different ways of saying the intro.
I got chills listening to it. And, Kiyoshi and Aang have this conversation about the Avatar state and how it's the place where you can access the energy of past lives and the thousands of other airbenders. What's been that creative equivalent for you? And was there a scene that you filmed throughout your career where you were in a similar state and felt that magic?
Oh, that's such a good question of like channeling. Well, I I'm trying to think if there's a particular scene. I think I would say in general in acting sometimes we always talk about like you just have a toolkit of different things that you need to use
Mm,
on set. Like sometimes one thing doesn't work and another thing will work another time, but it's kind of a mixed bag of everything. So I guess if I had to liken it to the Avatar state of being able to use all elements of channeling all your lives of everything, I mean, I guess that's kind of part of the work. It's just you got to try whatever works at the time because you got to get the job done.
mm. Yeah, great answer. And,
Yeah.
Kiyoshi really drives home to Aang what it means to be an avatar, and Gordon is somebody who's getting his big break with this project. Did you share any words of wisdom with him as he traverses this industry and what it means to be an artist and a storyteller? What was that point in your own career when you define what this craft and this responsibility means to you? Because you always brought such an empathetic quality to the roles that you've played.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel like I learned something from him,
Mm,
honestly. Gordon is wonderful. He is so giving, so kind, so professional on set for the age that he is. I don't think I need to tell him anything. I mean, I say that truly. And the support system he has, his father was with him on set all the time, and they're just a wonderful presence through and through. I think that he has, as we've all seen, played Aang beautifully and
Yeah.
perfectly, and I am so thrilled that they're getting seasons 2 and 3. To the second part of your question of traversing this thing, I just, at the end of the day, I'm just so happy I get to do what I love. And so each and every project I get, it's just I just have to say that I'm just so grateful for it because ugh, being an actor, more rejections than acceptances, more times that you're not working than when you are working. So whenever I get the chance to work, that's always at the forefront of how I remember how each and every job is sometimes so difficult to get that I'm there and I just want to
Mm.
show up and do the best I can and just grateful that I get to work, you know.
Yeah, you bring that
Yeah.
gratitude into your performances as well. I think something that you did so brilliantly with this roles is the ways in which you were able to infuse hints of Kyoshi's past. But there's only so much that you can fit into a show. And there's a moment, like you were saying earlier, where she has to show a bit of tough love to Aang, which was very, for those who are familiar with the source material, feels like she's projecting her own shortcomings and her own journey. Was that contrast something that was written in the episode, or was that something that you brought having done that deep research?
I would say that it wasn't, I mean, it was there, definitely written there, I think, with the intention in mind. And then having the discussion and then performing it, that was definitely something that I wanted to bring to her as well. Because it is a projection for sure. She had such a hard time finding out who she
Mhm.
that she was the avatar. For people who read the books, she's had a very tumultuous childhood and then upbringing, and then figuring out that she was the avatar on top of all of that, with the very few people that she trusted betraying her, all of those things, she's had to learn a really hard way. And I think her saying that to Aang at that moment is definitely a projection, a lot of that, of how she grew up. Because right after she gets on her level and she's like, I was like you once, and she's like, this is where this is coming from in those words. So that's, yeah, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it was.
And this series is so well done. It feels like you're watching 8 cinematic films. What was your reaction like getting to see that final product for the first time, and also collaborating with the hair and makeup team to bring this version of life onto the screen?
I was so happy, Kevin, at the premiere with all of us because we actually got to celebrate with each other. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that has not been a thing for a few years, right? Because of COVID and everything. And just to be able to finally meet people that I didn't get to meet
Mm.
on set. And every single time someone new appeared on screen, we were just cheering. It was so wonderful to do that with the whole team. The hair and makeup hair and wardrobe was I it was everything. Like you can't not feel like Kiyoshi in that hair and that makeup and that
Mhm.
costume. It just completed everything. And like I've said before, with so many things in any kind of project, when you step into the hair, makeup, and the wardrobe, it's like putting on a different skin. It's putting on the skin of that character. It completes the whole deal.
It's very transformative, and you are a multifaceted talent who has such a strong affinity for writing and directing. What are the types of stories that you're most interested in telling through those disciplines?
Oh, um, I am a sucker for those kind of stories that really look at the quiet moments in life
Mhm.
because I think there's so much to be said about those little quiet moments that we get with interacting with one another from, or even on ourselves that sometimes don't get enough air to be shown. I love that kind of style, but I also really love the epic stuff too. If I could do like a sci-fi something like that, I would be totally down for that, and huge comedy as well. So, I mean, for me, at the end of the day, what it really comes down to is to share the human experience, and to
Mm.
see that in its full colors on the screen. And if I can participate that in any way, whether it's writing or acting, I'm on board, you know?
Yeah. I think that your performance in The Stranger has all those subtleties and those nuances, and your
Yeah.
2024 is off to an incredible start with Avatar, and it's also been recently announced that you're joining Superman and Lois. Amanda has a very small role in the comics, but through the screen adaptation, you're going to be able to write a new chapter for her. How different was that character development and preparation process like when compared to Avatar, where you have this wealth of source material?
Oh, is quite different because for Kiyoshi, with like you said, with the wealth of source material, I can pull so many different things. And then with Amanda, what I had to go by were the scripts for Superman and Lois, and also with my discussion with the showrunners who are wonderful. Um, so for the script, I mean, anyone who's a fan of Superman and Lois, oh my gosh, you are not going to be disappointed with this final season. It is so good. It is so good. And that was more than enough,
Mm.
honestly. Reading the scripts, I'm like, yeah, it's so clear to me who she is. And the showrunners were so great to break it down for me in that sense that the source material was there for me. And in their description to me and what was released of the role, it made perfect sense with the world building of it and for the final season, particularly with Lex Luthor. So yeah, it was different, but still enough, definitely more than enough to work off of.
I cannot wait to see you in that. And similar to a lot of the characters that you've played, there's also such a contrast in the types of projects that you've worked on, like we were just talking about, where they get these bigger budgets like Avatar and Kung Fu, and then you've got these indies like The Stranger and Dragon Fruit. What is it about independent filmmaking that excites you as a creative and a storyteller? What are some of the indie projects that you've got coming up in the works?
With the indie projects, I love doing them because those indie projects were done with really good friends.
Yeah.
And Dragon Fruit was done with Jeremy Brown, who wrote, directed, and produced the short film. He is such a force. And oh my gosh, the amount of work that you do for an indie project because you're wearing 1,000 different hats all at once. That project from start to finish, I wasn't part of it for the full 4 years, but it took him 4 years to finish
Mm.
that project from inception to the final end. Stranger, a friend of mine, Curtis Lum, I worked with him on one of the first things I ever booked as an actor. And then we kept in touch. And he's like, "Oh, I'm producing this short film. I'm acting in it too, and I think you'd be really good for it." And of course, I mean, when it's your friends and it's a passion project, I love those sets because again, you just get to work with the people around you. And we always hope for that. Like,
Yeah.
I send so many auditions to my friends, like, you should go for this and you should go for that because we're just hoping to be on set together one day. So when projects like that come and you can support somebody that you know and that you really care about, it's such a win-win-win.